Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Welcome to this video. My name is Brenda Campbell. I'm an artist and a certified Zentangle teacher. Welcome, and thank you for watching. Today is Mindful Monday and we are going to go through the 8 steps of the magical Zentangle method of drawing. I'm going to guide you through this process. I hope you draw along with me. I will be using a 3.5-inch Zentangle tile. But if you don't have that, just a piece of paper is fine. Draw yourself a little square, 3.5 inches if you can. And I'm going to be using a pen. I'm going to use a Micron PN pen today. It has a little bit fatter nib on it. I will be using a pencil, and I will be using a tortillon for blending out the graphite. So if you don't have this exact same tools and materials, don't worry about it. Use what you have. I hope you draw along. So we're going to begin today with step 1, as we always do, and I use a little breathing exercise to kind of bring you into this moment and give you a little bit of calm and settling. So sit up straight in your seat if you can, and close your eyes if you're comfortable with that. We're going to go ahead and start with a big inhale, getting tall, stretching up, and then exhale and let everything just fall down. And again, inhale and get tall, and exhale and just relax your face, relax your shoulders. And one last big breath in and out. Now just let your breath fall back into its natural rhythm and pay attention to that breath. Follow it as it goes in and out. And try to clear your mind. Let all those thoughts just float away. And breathe. Now take a minute to think about something you're grateful for. And whatever first thing pops into your head, just grab onto that and feel into that gratitude. I want you to remember this feeling as we draw today. And if you ever reach a point where you're a little unsure, just stop and take a breath, get centered again, and remember that feeling of gratitude. And then begin again, and everything will work out much better. Okay, one last breath in and out. And that is the end of step 1. I always feel so much better after that little bit of breathing, and I hope you do too. Now step 2 is going to be using our pencil. We're going to put a dot in each corner. Step 3 is to connect those dots to create a border. And step 4 is our string. And I am just gonna do my little usual curve up a loop-de-down. I don't know why this is the string that always seems to come out, but that's okay. I'm not gonna worry about it. So that is step 4, our string. And now we have spaces in which to put our tangles. So I'm gonna pick up my pen. I'm using the PN pen today. Like I mentioned, it's got a little bit wider nib on it, and that is going to help me. get a little bit better drama, I think. Okay, so we're going to begin with the tangle finery. Now, finery is a really cool decorative tangle, and we are going to put that in this corner space here on my tile. You can pick whatever space suits you on yours to begin with, and we are going to begin by drawing one line. I make it a little bit curvy. Then I am going to aura that line, and it's going to come to a point at the end. Now I'm going to draw a couple more lines like this, basically the same shape as the first one, and then they come to a point. I'm going to do this to fill up this space here. Okay, so these on the end are kind of tiny, and that's okay. I don't mind too much. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to draw lines between these two, or I don't know what you want to call them, little straight out shapes that are pointy shapes, I guess. And we're going to use kind of an S shape. And I'm just going to aura that shape all the way down. Till I get to a point. Okay. Now I'm going to skip an area, and I'm going to do the same shape in this area after the skipped area. Okay. Then I'm going to come back in and kind of mirror this shape on these that are left. Now, I don't think I drew these shapes the right direction, but I don't think it's going to make that much difference. And that's kind of why I wasn't too worried about it. So I've got all my lines that are going in kind of a mirrored pattern direction between my two, or between my lines that come straight out. And the next step we're going to do is kind of put a little bit of decoration in between. So if you imagine these two go together, we're going to put a little skinny rectangle of solid black between our two curvy lines coming out from, I guess I'll call that a stem. I don't know why, it just needs a name as I teach this. And I'm going to turn it around and do the same thing on the other side in a mirror fashion. Okay, and I'll come over here. Well, maybe I'll do one up here too. Okay, now let's come over here. Okay, so I've got all my dark lines, my little skinny rectangles, and now I'm just going to add some dots at the end of each. And I'll add as many as I have space for. Okay, we have our finery. It almost looks like I need another set of these, so I'm going to add that. But it kind of goes off the page. Okay, I'm happy with it now. Okay, so we've finished with finery. We're moving on to our next tangle. Our next tangle is going to be flukes, and that is a grid tangle. We are going to put that in our little circle. So we first have to figure out how we want our grid. I think I'm just going to do a straight up and down grid. I don't do that very often, but this seems to call for it. Okay. Now flukes, we start with a grid like we've just drawn. Then we are going to draw kind of a line from the center of each square to the center, coming down. Now, there's lots of ways to do this. This is just my way. I always start with one line. I try to get them as consistent as I can. Okay, now I'm going to come in here and I'm going to draw that second line to make a square in each corner. I've got several of these that are going off. Off the page, if you will. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is fill in each of these squares with solid black. This may take me a minute, and if you're drawing along, I don't want you to rush, so I suggest you go ahead and pause the video. I will skip ahead when you're done and you're happy with it and you've taken your time. Then go ahead and unpause when your squares are all black, and then we'll come back and be ready for the next step for this tangle. So go ahead and pause your video now. Okay, I'm back. And if you're back, that means you finished your squares. And so we're going to go ahead and move on. Now, this is a circle section, so obviously some of these flukes squares are going to be cut off because they'll be behind. That's okay, we're not going to worry about it. So the next step is to draw a line around the box, or a line around the box. And if there's room, we're going to do a second aura line around the box, and maybe even a third. I do like to keep these consistent in terms of the number of lines. However, I'm not very good at making my boxes really square or even making them the same size. So we'll see how this works out. Okay, so here we're gonna go the second one. Okay, I kind of messed that up, but we can cover that up if we need to. So that is flukes. And the only thing we have left is this background space here. I think I'm just going to draw some aura lines in here that will close off my flukes. And also my finery on this side. So when I draw my aura lines, I like to put skips in them just because it makes it more interesting than a solid line. And we'll do the same thing over here. I guess I'll draw them this way. And then lastly, this corner here. Which way do I want it to go? Let's go this way. Okay, so that is step 5. So in step 6, shading, we're going to use our pencil and we are going to add some contrast to these patterns, these tangles that we've drawn. So I'm going to start with finery. We drew that first. And I am going to put a little bit of graphite on one side of these things that we, I don't know what to call them. These little aura, pointy aura things. These little stripes. Just one side, that's all I'm going to do. Then I'm going to take my tortillon and I'm going to blend it in. Now I'm going to be really careful because I've got these black rectangles and sometimes that black can kind of tear up the paper. You can tear up the paper where that black is sometimes, because adding that black ink kind of, well, the paper's a little bit fragile. It's not too bad though. I don't worry too much about it. I just try to be careful when there's black. Okay, so I've got shading on one side of each of these strands that come off, and that's really all I need for this tangle. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put graphite around the edges of the string space where we find our finery. So it's going to kind of look like it comes out from underneath these other aura lines. Again, just very lightly, not a lot of pressure, blending out that graphite. And I think one more thing I'm going to do, I don't know if I have enough graphite, but I'm just going to put a little bit, I'm using what's left on my tortillon to add a little bit on the bottom of these finery waves, I'll call them. Okay, that's enough for finery. Now we're going to move on to flukes. And flukes can be shaded a couple different ways. There's a link in the description to watch me drawing flukes and showing you both ways that we can use to shade this. But what I'm going to do today is on the line underneath the black square, I'm putting some graphite. It's basically the bottom right side of each square. Okay, then I'm going to turn it, and I'm going to do, it's going to be on the left side instead of the right side, but essentially the same thing coming down from the square to the bottom. Okay, I think I have them all. Now I'm going to blend those in, and careful again against the black squares. Okay, turn it to the other direction. This is the most common way for me to shade flukes. This is the way I use most of the time. I don't know why, it's just a little easier, I guess, for me. It also kind of makes them look like scales, if you will. But I don't know, I kind of like flukes. It's a fun pattern because the shading just really makes it. Okay, so now, let me see. This flukes is contained inside this line that we had. We drew the line, but it was basically from our string. So I'm going around the inside of the perimeter, not touching or not adding to the black. And again, then this will make it look, give the illusion that this is inside or down below these aura lines that we added in that extra space. So going all the way around. Okay, so that is all we needed for that. So now we're done shading flukes. So we just have these aura lines now to shade. And I'm going to go ahead and start by, again, adding more graphite over my border line, just to define the space. And let's start with that and see what it looks like when we're done. Okay, so that looks pretty good for the outside. Now I just need to decide what I'm going to do here. And I think I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of graphite underneath. And then maybe to this side also. And then I'm going to go back in to my flukes and add a little more graphite on the top. So it's basically opposite from where I added graphite on the outside. I'm keeping this outside white and adding more to the flukes to make that a little darker underneath it. Okay, then I'll take add a little more graphite to this side. And then I'm going to go ahead and add more underneath over the finery. They say graphite is best added in layers, and I usually have a pretty heavy hand with my graphite and can't afford to add lots of layers, but I think today it's helping to do that. So it's one of those things I'm always working on a little bit, trying to get a little bit better. Let's see, maybe we'll even go in here and add a little bit more second layer here. Okay, I think it's looking pretty good. So I think we're done with shading, step 6. Now we're going to move on to step 7, which is to initial and sign. You can add your chop if you have one instead of your initials. I'm going to go ahead and put my chop down here in this little corner. It's going to kind of tuck up underneath the finery. And so my chop is kind of stylized B and C. And then I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to sign it. You can add a date. I'm going to name the tangles. So first we did finery. Then we did flukes. And then we just added oral lines. So that is step 7, and now step 8 is simply to sit back and appreciate what you've drawn, just to kind of admire your work and be grateful for the time that you spent on yourself today. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I do hope you drew along with me, and thank you if you're still here. If you enjoyed the video, maybe you could hit that like button and maybe even share it with friends that you know that you think might enjoy this. And if you're not subscribed yet, you should consider doing that too. That's all for today's Mindful Monday. Until next time, be you and be happy.